Hey guys, Lorraine back with you with another card video. So I had been playing around and I made this card front, this Happy Fall, y'all. And I had this vision in my head with this scene laid out, and I liked the layout, but I had made some mistakes and some things about it I didn't like, so I'm going to go ahead and recreate a variation of that today. Going to be using Paper Rose Studios Cloud Stencil. This is a new to me stencil. As you can see, it's got the full cloud images and then the cloud edge. You can go back and forth. Using Simon Says Stamps Happy Fall Y'all stamp set. Got some big open images, very easy for coloring, which I'm going to watercolor with my Kuretake Gansai Tombi watercolor paints. Very creamy, rich paint. Love these. So I have my stamps placed in my MISTI, and I'm using a piece of Canson cold press 140 pound watercolor paper. Going to be inking up my stamps with VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I will be restamping these several times. If you've ever tried to stamp on watercolor paper, then you know that because it's got that tooth, that texture, you do need to stamp several times to get a good, clear, crisp impression. Also, I will be heat embossing these today, so I want to make sure I have enough ink. That way my Ranger Superfine clear embossing powder that you see there will adhere to those images. And I just keep my embossing powder in this, water or Tupperware container. You can store it, use it however you see fit. I just find it's easier for me this way. So I went ahead and got it on there. Going to heat that up with my heat tool, and you can tell that it's working when it goes from that matte dusty finish to the shiny glossy finish. That way you know that it is actually being heat embossed, and watching this never gets old. I just love heat embossing. It's so satisfying. Making a slimline card today, and I still don't have a rolling hill kind of a stencil, so I just created one out of a piece of scrap paper. Using Distress Oxides, peeled paint, and today I'm using my makeup brush. I go back and forth between the Tim Holtz applicators and the makeup brushes depending on the look that I want. I have found that to get a more airy, lighter applied look, these makeup brushes work best. If you're going for that real heavy, thick, blendable look, then the Tim Holtz applicators are the best way to go. So I'm going to pull out my speckled egg, Distress Oxide, testing it out and make sure that that is actually the color that I want. And I'm going to go ahead and just lay some base color for the sky. And as you can see there, that is a perfect example of that light, airy, almost not full coverage that you get with these makeup brushes. If you are looking for a very heavily saturated background, not the way to go with these makeup brushes. It would take a very long time, a lot of pressure, a lot of ink. Because I just wanted a little bit of like airiness in that cloudy sky, this was the way to go. So this is where I made my first mistake with this. I pulled out Broken China, and I thought at first, yeah, these colors are gonna look great. And then I realized, no, I don't like this. Don't like it at all. But I decided to go ahead and roll with it, see where it went. And the finished product wasn't so bad. But if I could do it again, I would not choose Broken China. I just don't like the color combination. So I'm going to go ahead and just apply some clouds, and I am using the full cloud image part of the stencil, not the edge of the stencil, which I probably could have, because I think in the end I wound up liking those kind of rolling clouds better from the first panel. And there's my second mistake. I picked up my green makeup brush instead of my blue makeup brush. So now I have that big green circle in my sky. But that's okay, we can fix that. It is going to be completely covered up with my tree, and nobody will know it's there except for you, who is seeing me mess it up. That's okay. Wanted to leave it in because, hey, this is real life. We mess things up when we're making them. If you make cards, if you create art, then you know we mess up. See, there you go. Got to cover that bad boy up. lining up my images, just want to see where they're going to go, trying to make sure that there's room, want to fit in some space for my sentiment. I still had my stamps in my MISTI, so I switched over to my Tonic Studios Tim Holtz stamp platform. Going to tape that down with some purple tape. The watercolor paper does have ink on it, and of course when you apply something wet to a piece of paper, even if it's watercolor paper, it does have a tendency to warp. So I know for a fact that I will wind up stamping this multiple times, so I want to make sure that that piece of paper is going to stay in the exact same spot. And I'm going to ink that up again with my VersaFine Onyx black ink, because I will be heat embossing this sentiment as well. This VersaFine Onyx black ink, if you're not familiar, is a watercolor friendly ink. You can watercolor with it. It will not smudge, it will not smear. It also stays wet enough for a long enough period of time to be able to apply embossing powder to it. So this is the way that you want to go for watercoloring, for any sort of moisture, for heat embossing. And personally, this is my black ink of choice, because I find that it just gives me that really crisp, dark image that I like on the sentiments. Hands down, I will pull for this ink faster than any other black ink I own. So I finally got some good impressions there, had some ink on my fingers, wanted to make sure I wipe that off, pulling it off of my platform, and I'm going to go ahead and coat this with the embossing powder and emboss that as well. And again, yay, the magic of embossing, from dull to shiny. Love it. Love it. Isn't that just awesome? Look at that shine. Oh, it's beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and reline up my die cuts using my Nuvo glue, my glue of preference when it comes to liquid glue. And I'm going to go ahead and glue those images down. You can see there on the back of my bear that there is some stamped image. Yep, I had messed up at one point and then just flipped that piece of paper over and stamped on the other side. It's paper, you can do that. Nobody's going to see that because that is going to be adhered down to the card front, so nobody will know that I had messed up that stamped image. Real life, guys, real life. Put my pumpkin on there. My coffee cup. And with the pie, I decided I wanted that raised up off of the card a little bit. So I will be putting a piece of Simon Says Stamps Big Mama foam tape behind the piece of pie, and also the dark green tray. Just wanted them raised up a little bit off of the card base. I love Simon Says Stamp. I will never say a bad word about them other than their Big Mama foam tape. I love the thickness. It's not as thick as traditional foam tape, like your, oh, I can't even think of the name. The big green roll, you know what I'm talking about. 3M, I think it is. It's 3M? 3M. It's not as thick. It's not as there's not as much height to it, which is good, just to get it raised up off of the paper. And it's not 3M, it's Scotch, isn't it? The Scotch foam tape. Come on, you guys know what I'm talking about. It's one of those days. However, I have one of the original rolls of the Big Mama foam tape, and trying to get the release paper off of this tape is maddening. It takes far longer than it should. Like I said, I love Simon Says Stamp. I will never ever say a bad word about them other than this foam tape is crazy when it comes to removing the release paper off of it. But I have heard through the grapevine that they have reformulated that. So I'm hoping that when you buy one of the newer rolls, you're not going to have that problem, because I actually had to stop filming and pull off camera, and I fiddled with getting those pieces of release paper off for probably a good 20 minutes. Yep, there you go. See, covered that panel with the foam tape, and then I'm going to adhere that to a card base. Sometimes when I'm applying a large panel to the card base like that, it is easier just to go ahead and tape that card base shut, and then just throw that on there like that. And that is purple tape, so it's just like washi tape. You can put it on there, it'll keep the card base shut, and then just take it right back out. And there you see the two that I made, the original, and you see I had some green in the clouds there. I didn't think that the mushrooms were working, but I did like the clouds better in that first image. So I hope you enjoy, and even my mistakes. Have a great day, guys. Bye.